Okay, we have confirmation. The immersion dossier, the file they call the Black Archive, it's decrypted. It's open.
So we're beginning the audit.
We are. And our mission today has to be clear. We are not just reading ancient history here. This is a forensic audit of what the file calls the source code of reality.
Exactly. We're looking for the blueprints hidden inside the myths.
Our target is the architecture of that first great human trauma, the flood, roughly 5600 BC.
Right. And we have to analyze that catastrophe not as something that just happened to our ancestors, but as a compressed forensic report. A report that details the system's inherent instability.
So if we understand that collapse...
Yeah, we hold the map for escaping the cycle that, according to this dossier, is happening all over again right now.
The file is incredibly focused. It isolates 4 major structural threats, bridging that ancient trauma to right now. I mean, it lists epigenetic trauma right next to the BOSPHORUS rupture.
And then the triage of the engineers.
Before applying it all directly to what it calls the economic BOSPHORUS.
Yeah.
The one that's rising as we speak.
Let's start with the source data, the preservation mechanism, what the file calls the memory of water.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the dossier opens with something, well, something universal, that recurring nightmare.
The anxiety dream.
Yes, that identical, visceral dream. The wall of dark water on the horizon, the engine that won't start, that absolute gut-level certainty that you're about to be erased.
And it's reported everywhere. The London accountant who's never been on a boat, the farmer in Vietnam.
Exactly. How is a dream that specific, that technical, systemic, across the entire planet?
Well, conventional thinking just calls it a Jungian archetype, a collective unconscious.
But the file says that's not good enough.
Not even close. The file argues the fear is biological, not symbolic, and it points to the transmission mechanism epigenetics.
Right, the Emory University mouse experiment, the acetophenone study.
That's the one. They exposed mice to a scent, acetophenone, and gave them an electric shock at the same time. The parents, obviously, developed a panic response to that smell.
But here's the core of it.
Here's the core of it. That trauma caused a physical change, a methylation of the DNA in their sperm and eggs.
So it literally rewrote the instructions being passed down.
Precisely. And their children, and even their grandchildren, who never got a shock, never even smelled the scent before, they went into absolute panic at the first whiff of acetophenone.
The fear was inherited. It didn't have to be learned.
It was etched into their code.
Hold on. Are we really saying that a geological event from 7,000 years ago is the direct biological reason I might have a specific bad dream tonight? That feels like a huge leap.
The file says the logic is identical. It's just the scale that's astronomical. Swap the electric shock for the BOSPHORUS rupture. This wasn't a lab stimulus. This was the most violent sensory event possible.
42 cubic kilometers of water a day.
The force of 200 Niagara Falls, pouring 24/7 for months. The noise alone.
It must have been unbearable.
It was more than sound. It was an infrasonic roar, a vibration so low frequency it bypassed the ears and went straight for the gut. 100 kilometers away, you would have felt the world shaking apart.
That's the cortisol spike.
A massive collective cortisol spike that acted like a laser, etching one single command into the gametes of the survivors. System alert. Roar of water equals imminent extinction.
So when you wake up sweating from that dream, you are quite literally the grandchild of the Emory mouse.
You're carrying your ancestors' emergency alarm, and that biological mandate is what forced them to record the event. Look at the corroboration. You overlay Gilgamesh, Genesis, the Popol Vuh.
They don't just share themes, they share technical specs, an emergency protocol.
4 identical points. 1, the executive warning, a direct tip-off to the chosen one.
2, the technical instructions. Build this way, use bitumen, use these measurements. It's engineering, not prayer.
3, preserve the source code, seeds, tools, and craftsmen. And 4,
the bird test. For checking if the water's gone down, it's identical across cultures, separated by oceans and millennia.
It's ballistic corroboration. Something real happened.
Wait, then, does this mean our entire recorded history is just a detailed survival manual disguised as theology? Is the system rigged to hide the blueprints in plain sight?
That's the trap. It's a narrative ZIP file designed to get the core data across time. And to validate it, we have to move from the memory to the crime scene itself. The autopsy of the BOSPHORUS, 5600 BC. What we call the Black Sea now was the Euxine Lake. a giant freshwater body sitting 150 meters below global sea level.
Protected by a natural dam, the Bosphorus Isthmus.
And the dossier calls this place, functionally, the Garden of Eden. Sheltered, fertile.
But the global sea level was rising. Post-Ice Age melt. The pressure on that natural dam must have been immense. Until
catastrophic structural failure became inevitable, the dike broke.
The numbers are horrific, that flow rate. But let's talk about the pacing. The water rose 15 centimeters a day. That sounds slow. Manageable.
It sounds slow, but it's the most terrifying part of the event. On a flat, coastal plain, 15 centimeters vertically means the water is advancing horizontally for kilometers. Every single day.
There's no time to think, no time to pack.
No time to grieve. If you stopped, you were overtaken. It forced radical, immediate, continuous movement.
So where's the smoking gun? The proof that this wasn't just some big local flood, but a civilization-ending catastrophe.
The proof is in the chemistry of the Black Sea itself. It's the world's largest meromictic basin.
Meaning the layers don't mix?
They don't mix. And below 150 meters, you have the anoxic zone. No oxygen.
And no oxygen means?
No life. And critically, no Teredo nivalis worm, the little marine termite that devours every piece of submerged wood on the planet.
So the Black Sea is a preservation tank.
A formaldehyde tank of biblical proportions.
And this is what Robert Ballard found, the man who found the Titanic.
Exactly. He sent ROVs down into that anoxic zone. And at 155 meters, he found an ancient, intact coastline. And at Site 82, he found worked wooden beams. Intact houses.
Preserved.
Perfectly, looking like they were cut yesterday, not 7,600 years ago.
The evidence of their world wasn't destroyed. It was flash frozen.
What?
Put on pause. And that leads us right into the selection process that followed.
The diaspora of the engineers. The catastrophe created the most brutal Darwinian filter imaginable. The population split into two groups.
Group 1, the deniers of normality, the majority.
Yes, they clung to their homes, their status, their belief that things would just go back to normal.
They perished.
Their entire operating system was wiped from the record.
And Group 2, the reality engineers.
The ones who executed what the file calls radical detachment. They carried only the source code, seeds, tools, and the human capital, the technicians who knew how to build.
And these refugees became the carriers of civilization.
They injected their knowledge into new lands. The northern route up the Danube, you get this sudden agricultural invasion of Europe. And what did they build? The tells of the viniculture. Artificial mounds.
Because their epigenetic memory is screaming at them. Flat ground is a trap. Build high.
Precisely. And the southern route. They land in the swamps of Mesopotamia. But they don't see a swamp. They see a blank slate for hydraulic engineering. They use their knowledge of dikes and canals to basically invent Sumer.
Which is where the myth of the Apkallu comes from. The 7 sages who came from the water.
We interpret that not as fishmen, but as emergency professors. The surviving engineers arriving in water-stained protective gear, uploading a backup of their entire culture's operating system onto a new server.
But the dossier section on the political trauma here, the Anunnaki, corrosive stuff. The texts say the gods fled. They ran to the heaven of Anu and watched the destruction from above.
This is the triage. The Anunnaki were management. They had already evacuated. They abandoned the experiment humanity, the Lulu, their labor force. They just left us to die.
Except for Enki, the chief engineer.
The whistleblower. He leaked the protocol, saved the technical knowledge, and a sliver of humanity.
So, wait. The gods were just the elite who cut their losses and abandoned the project? And all the worship, the fear in those ancient texts, it's just a form of planetary Stockholm syndrome.
That's the audit's conclusion. We inherited the tech, but were infected with the Cronus virus. An obsession with centralized control and a deep systemic fear of the cycle. Which brings us to the A.R.K itself.
Right, let's dismantle the fairy tale, the floating zoo. It's a logistical impossibility. The waste, the methane, the food, the literal story just collapses.
Because the failure is semantic. The original word isn't Ania, a sailing ship. It's TVAH.
A box, a container, an isolation capsule.
Its only purpose was watertightness, not navigation.
So it was a data compression strategy.
Exactly. It was a germplasm bank. It held the source code for agriculture seeds, not fields. And the craftsman, the software, it held the code to reboot civilization.
Like the Svalbard Global Seed Vault today.
It's the exact same logic, a modern Tevah.
And this reveals the real architecture of survival. The armored key, a receptacle, and Noah is told to caulk it with gopher.
Bitumen.
And here's a linguistic key the dossier flags. Kofir, the physical sealant, has the same root as kippur.
Atonement. Protection.
So you're building a physical box with a material whose very name means both physical armor and spiritual purification.
That's profound. So building the cleave, the vessel, it's about sealing your internal leaks, your fear, your distraction, against the external chaos.
The physical act is just an expression of the required psychological state.
Which all comes down to that one instruction from Enki. Dismantle your house and build a boat.
The house, your static status, your career, your normal life. That is what will kill you when the ground liquefies. Survival demands what the file calls controlled self-sabotage.
Liquidating your static assets. Transforming security into agility.
So the question the dossier asks you, the listener, is brutal. Are you capable of burning your own house down before the water gets there?
Because if you try to carry the old world into the new, you sink the Ark. Yes. The renunciation is mandatory.
And now, the file applies this map to today. The rising of the black tide. It says we are the Euxine farmers all over again. We're living below sea level.
And the modern dam isn't rock, it's sovereign debt. $300 trillion and counting, built by central banks to hold back total global insolvency.
And the dam is leaking. We see it. Inflation, devaluation, the loss of purchasing power. The salt water is seeping through.
And the file projects a structural break, the release of that black tide of hyperinflation and social chaos. It puts the timeline around 2026, 2027.
And the infrasonic roar. It's back, but we don't call it that. We call it the algorithm, current events.
It's that constant hum of anxiety, the martial roar of geopolitics, the hiss of AI, making human cognitive workers, the new Lulu obsolete, the social static of polarization and deepfakes.
So that feeling, that apocalypse fatigue, that's our body reacting to the infrasound again. And normality is the anesthetic.
The question is, who is the engineer today? And the file is clear. The selection is auto-selection.
The remnant.
Those who feel that itch in their soul. Those who prioritize sovereignty of attention. Because your attention is the gopher wood you use to build your ark.
The final imperative is about structure, isn't it? The ark admits no passengers, only crew.
Your mission is to be the bridge. To be that stable container, that Tevah that preserves sanity and knowledge. Because the same water that drowns the formless elevates the structured.
So what we're facing isn't moral punishment.
No. It's historical thermodynamics, a phase change. Water at 99 degrees is stable hot water. One more degree, and it's a violent rupture into steam. We are at the 99.9th degree.
You have the golden ticket, you're alive for the turn, and you have the blueprints your ancestors had to run without. You know what comes after the water.
The land.
So do not weep for the reed house collapsing. Do not look back. Keep your mind sovereign. Keep your cleats sealed. The flood is coming to wash away what was already dead.
To make room for what needs to be born.
We are not the ones who die in the flood. We are the seed, traveling in the dark, waiting patiently for the tide to recede, to drive the root into the virgin mud of the new world.